As the first 100 days approaches, the promises made by our current administration are on a ticking clock. There have been many executive orders put out as well as promises of rollbacks from the past administration. Due to this, we wanted to focus on Biden's immigration policies, in particular that seemed to stir up controversy recently for decisions that seemingly mirrored our previous administration.
Why is the Biden administration reopening a temporary facility for migrant children in Texas?
Well, first, the policy of this administration, as you well know, but just for others, is not to expel unaccompanied children who arrive at the border. And the process, how it works, is that Customs and Border Control continue to transfer unaccompanied children to the HHS Office of Refugee Resettlement. That can take a couple of days. I just want to give this context because people need to understand the process. But because of COVID-19 protocols, the social distancing requirements, the capacity at existing Office of Refugee Resettlement shelters has been significantly reduced because, of course, you can't have a child in every bed. There needs to be spacing, and we abide by those spacing to protect the kids who are living in those facilities for a short period of time. And to ensure the health and safety of these kids, HHS took steps to open an emergency facility to add capacity where these children can be provided the care they need before they are safely placed with families and sponsors.
Biden reopened a teenage migrant detention facility in Hazel Springs, Texas. Remember, this decision was met with a lot of tension and protest in 2019, and I think it's important we treat this issue with an equal amount of discrepancy. However, before we jump down his throat, let's compare and contrast the differences between these camps and centers, as well as look at the climate in which the new administration is attempting to enact change. This is Biden's immigration plan and the ticking clock of the 100 days. During the campaign, Biden pledged to undo former President Donald Trump's hardline immigration policies. In his first month in office, Biden signed several executive orders reversing many of those policies. In mid-February, he and House Democrats introduced a plan that would provide a path to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants. The administration also reversed some of Trump's expulsion practices by accepting unaccompanied children into the country. A change that also is contributing to an increase in minors in government facilities, officials have said. How much of an increase? Why do you always want to know the facts and figures? Okay. This past January, over 5,700 apprehended minors. The administration claims their hands were tied when it came to the decision to open back up minor detention facilities as numbers and restrictions increased with the coronavirus. So to make this simple, the capacity for every detention facility has been cut in half, and the number of migrant children being apprehended has gone up tremendously. If you look at this issue from a number standpoint, it makes perfect sense to open up another facility. But these aren't numbers. These are people.
It's a huge step back. It is completely outside of what we expected with the Biden administration.
Immigration lawyer Linda Brand-Miller believes reopening the Carrizo Springs facility is unnecessary.
Carrizo Springs is in the middle of nowhere in Texas, nowhere. So they don't have access to anybody.
We requested a tour of inside the facility and an interview, but the U.S. Health and Human Services Department declined. Instead, they referred us to online information where it states that on Monday, February 22nd, the first group of unaccompanied children arrived safely to the facility. The center had been closed since July 2019.
Unlike the many detention centers run by ICE or private prison owners, Carrizo is run by a nonprofit organization, BCFS, Health and Human Services, a government contractor for the Office of Refugee Resettlement. What difference does that make? Well, the pictures you've seen of people in cages, those are detention centers. The large open areas with educational facilities, dining halls, basketball courts, those are migrant camps. The main purpose is to assign these children a legal representative to find their guardian in the States and ensure they have a safe match and don't end up in the streets. Okay, so now you know the difference between detention centers and migrant camps. But these are also differences within these migrant camps. For instance, Carrizo is considered an influx camp. This means it's an emergency camp set up for special circumstances, in this case, the pandemic. These influx camps, however, don't have the same requirement that the permanent camps have. This does cause a lot of concern for caseworkers of these children, especially when it comes to the duration that the children will be held at the camp. On top of that, city officials are aware that these influx camps cost a significant amount more per migrant than the permanent camps. How much of a difference? $775 per child compared to 290. Officials who work with HHS know these influx centers aren't a means to an end, but also realize the harsh realities that they are the only thing standing in the way of these kids ending up in an ICE-controlled detention center. Okay, so maybe that's a temporary solution, but for how long? We were in arms in 2019 when this Carusa facility was opened, and it was only open for 1 month. How long will it stay open now with this administration and the shield of Title 42? Oh, by the way, Title 42 is the program that allows the United States Border Patrol and U.S. Customs to prohibit the entry of persons who potentially pose a health risk. Man, this pandemic really just is the gift that keeps on giving. Look, I don't want to sound like a child screaming, "You promised," but I will if I have to. We continue to turn away migrants into this country, and the number of people being detained at the border has gone up. We as citizens try our best to understand the complications of rolling back a flawed system and installing a new one while the country is still running. However, if our excuse continues to be, it's too complicated to do at the same time, then we're never going to get rid of this influx camps and make progress towards a better immigration policy, as promised. Sorry, you're going to have to learn to walk and chew gum at the same time. It's that simple.